Welcome back to Shadowrun Returns, where the more I think about this choice, the more upset it's making me. At the end of the last episode, we were talking about the issues here of the framing of the scene and this bizarre non-choice to let her die one way, kill her ourselves, or extract her for justice. The more I think about it, the more I think I just want to reiterate my point of there is no justice to be had in the Shadowrun universe. It's just there's government is not a thing. It is down to Randian powers of will and bizarre bullshit beliefs in the strong are more worthy and deemed to be there, and all these other things mixed with late stage capitalist views of morality and ethics, which basically means no morality or ethics unless those in charge have a code that happens to be slightly less exploitative, which got me to thinking about James Telestrian III, who is, so we've got Jessica Watts here, who is his half sister, and then Lynn, who I almost forgot we just left in the other room, just sort of booked it once the combat was over. Don't know what happened to her, but they're both complicit in this. And I don't think he's going to have them both killed. But obviously he has so much sway over this situation in particular as a familial situation, as well as the the overall sway over the elves as a race, as well as the control of his enormous company, that he basically has unlimited power. And admittedly, this is my not that detailed reading of what I've seen here, plus what little I know of the Shadowrun universe. And while there are probably entities above him that could exert forces that he would have to comply with, those are far outside the scope of the original question, which is this may be an existential threat to Earth, but it's still fundamentally kind of about a family feud. Which is just kind of nuts. This whole story really kind of got out of hand pretty quickly, and the fact that we went, the story started with, hey, your friend left you a video will, go find out what happened to him, and now we're, up against invincible space bugs and dealing with 7,000 years of corporate, personal, and astral history. It's a bit all over the place. I would like to believe that James Telestrian, as much of a dick as he appears to be, still has some sort of conscience, and that with Jessica and Lynn being still essentially family, and with him having given no clear instruction on our part to murder his family, that he will probably have, for better or for worse, his sway over the situation probably means that option 3 is going to be the best for all parties. The first one makes me feel ill, especially because I don't know how this is going to play out. I also can't save right now because I'm in dialogue, so I can't go back and check. If I just watch them, like, here's the deal. This could go, if I pick option one, it could go one of two ways. Either they kill her and then they walk out, or they kill her and then I have to fight them. If it's the latter, that would be bizarre and atonal, because it's like, why would they focus on her and then get into combat with me anyway? And also it would really undercut the whole idea of this busted scene where for some reason there's three factions, like I was talking about in the last episode. So presumably what they're going to do, what they would do if I were to pick it, which I'm not going to, is that they would kill her and then walk out. And given what she just said about there being other hives, it's like, okay, so what's the outcome there? We let them go. Why? Because they killed the person we wanted them to kill? That doesn't make any sense to me. We should chase them into their hive or whatever, which is clearly not going to happen because this wouldn't be a choice if it had that much divergence. But like really undercuts the idea of them as an existential threat. And yes, presumably what the answer will be is that James Telestrian and his, cadre of elvish goons are going to go mass produce these guns and then exterminate the existing hives. But like, that's pretty unsatisfying too. I think it's going to turn out that way no matter what. But option 2 is like deeply unsatisfying for a number of reasons. Sam didn't even say he wanted the killer dead. And he wouldn't, and it being his sister and possibly done outside of her own willpower under duress of some, duress and manipulation of some kind. Like, that just feels shit in most ways. So I think it has to be option 3. Even though I don't like it. Death would be too quick a punishment. You're going to pay for what you've done. Take her with you. She lowers her head in shame. I understand. Do not fade to black. Fuck off. So we're just going to ignore the bugs. Did the bugs just let us go? This doesn't make any sense. The scene doesn't make any sense. It fucking sucks. So from a writing perspective, why would you write that? The only concept I can come up with for that is why would you write the bugs to show up? Because it's a much simpler scene if you don't write that. So is the only thing I can think of for why you would write it that way is so that you can give the players an option that feels like they are not being executioner, so that they can, it doesn't work for me, but I suppose for some people that would be more like they were, they would feel morally superior over allowing something to happen rather than being the executioner of it. Because otherwise it's just a better, clearer, simpler scene if you don't have that option at all. And the whole scene, like, that would also not put such a tension on the scene, and we might actually have been able to, like, have a conversation where we try and figure out what is going on with her. Like, how much of her is still in there? Is she still under their control? Like, to what extent was she and is she aware of what she did? If she, like she said, she's actually sorry about Sam's death, like, Are we going to have that discussion? That seems like the perfect opportunity to do it. The moment of defeat is where you have that conversation. If after I click this loading screen is when they, if that's when they have us had that conversation with us, with her, you've already undercut the tension. Because it'll just be sort of like an epilogue rather than a rather than a cap on the climax. Which would just be a missed opportunity. So are they going to do it now, or are they just going to skip it entirely and not think it was important to, I don't know, maybe talk to the fratricidal? What's the term for killing your sibling? I think it's fratricide. That maybe that's males only? I'm not sure. Anyway. Out of the shadows. You emerge from the Universal Brotherhood chapter house, momentarily blinded by the bright lights of the Lone Star perimeter surrounding the exit. Despite the clean night air, the stench of ichor and decay clings to you, a smell that may never fully go away. You drop your Aegis-filled shotgun, they even admitted it's a shotgun, and it's quickly spirited away by one of Telestrian's minions. Weapons are slowly lowered as you step out into the street. The order coming from Detective McCluskey himself. You can see James Telestrian just nearby, pulling his strings. It's over. Jessica Watts has been dealt with, and Sam has his justice. The dead man's deed is done. All you need now is to make a phone call, and it ends. Why couldn't we see this scene? Why are you delivering it? Why are you telling instead of showing? This would be that requires almost no effort. You've already built all the assets. So why would you not just have it happen in the world? And now we're just standing here. You could have done, it would be, all the effort would be writing writing a bit more dialogue and then mapping the pathing, and then writing a couple of animation triggers. It's like no effort. Come on. And after we broke up the ritual, Alice chased Jessica into a small chamber where she was cornered by a couple of buggers. Guess they weren't impressed with her performance. They were about to eat her. And Alice says something like, "I won't let them eat you, Jessica. You're coming with me. You're going to pay for what you've done." It was very dramatic. Then we splattered the bugs and handed... you're really going to tell it to me this way instead of a... It's really bad storytelling. Why are you fucking up the storytelling harder than ever right at the end? Then we splattered the bugs and handed her over to the UCAS FBI. They're going to want to have a long talk with her about the Universal Brotherhood. So, this nest is cleaned out, and your cousin Lynn is being transported to a mental hospital for observation. I mean, that's another question. I brought it up before. I don't really know why Jessica and Lynn are separate characters. They don't really serve purposes that couldn't easily be merged. And likewise, if Jessica is the conduit, then why is Lynn complicit? Why would Lynn not go, yo, what the fuck? No, I'm not down with world-ending bugs. They talked about it a little. She talked about her philosophy only very briefly, as I recall. And it wasn't very convincing. As far as a familial feud, that does not... I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me as a motivator for going along with the evil bug plan. James assesses you with newfound respect. Very clean. I believe our test of Project Aegis was a success, Alice. Herr Brockhaus is having it weaponized now for distribution to knight-errant forces. The authorities are going to have a great many questions about this incident, and I will need to provide details. The Universal Brotherhood has a great many chapter houses, and they must be dealt with immediately. As expected. What will happen next? That is for others to determine, people other than you. Still, you have turned in a yeoman's effort, and regardless of your obvious flaws, you are deserving of a reward. Yeah, my 1.5 million. Wait, why do I have to pick one of these? What is this choice? Fuck McCluskey, but I'm not cashing in on that. I don't really give a shit about payment. And this one feels antithetical to like the whole Shadowrunner attitude. Like Shadowrunners aren't Shadowrunners just because they couldn't get a corporate job. It's like an inherently sort of like punk rock thing where they're deliberately all about being in the shadows. I mean, obviously a lot of it is just, you know, the circumstances that you're born into. But like, that's not what keeps Shadowrunners motivated. But do I want to go back to being a shadow? Like, I don't know. I think this one might be a joke. So I'm going to pick it. I hear you have an opening for a new VP of security. I do indeed, and I believe you have already undergone the required interview. Very well, Alice. Report to work as Vice President of Telestrian Industries Corporation Security on Monday. Fuck off. Just wear something more appropriate. Good day. No, I am going to wear my broken bunny mask for every day of work, and you're gonna accept that, or you can fire me. Guess that's it, huh? Captured Sam's killer, and now he'll get his justice. He's a little more involved than I expected. She looks back at the Universal Brotherhood. Just a little. Coyote grins. First time. Well, I'm gonna grab Paco. Head back to the Union, maybe watch a trid or something. And I could use a long shower too. After that... you could learn the business. Take over for Mrs. Kubota someday. She gets a twinkle in her eye. Someday, maybe, when the rest of my body is made of metal too. But not today. Today I run in the shadows. Get paid. Get dirty. See you around, Alice. You're quite a lady. I can honestly say I've never met an elf quite like you. I was trying to decide who to talk to. Haven't seen Dresden in 30 episodes. The little coroner is surprised to see you, but he can't hide his delight. Hey, Alice, I was wondering if I was going to see you again. I guess I shouldn't be surprised to find you here. Hello, Dresden. How's my favorite body snatcher? Busy. He pops his eyebrows, eager. You know it's all over the Trivid, right? They found the Emerald City Ripper dead at some asylum out in Sonomish, of all places. Turns out he'd been masquerading as the head administrator or something. They found him dead in some sort of vigilante attack. He leans in, whispers conspiratorially. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? Why, Mr. Dresden, I have no idea what you mean. Dresden winks. That's what I thought. Well, no one can say he didn't have it coming, am I right? He frowns at himself. That was a double negative. So, the big question. What about the dead man's switch? Now the Ripper's dead, are you going to collect? I mean... I don't really like any of these. Damn right I'm going to collect. Excellent. I'm sure you deserve it. How do you collect? I was told I need a secure line to call the number Sam gave me. Can't use my comlink. He brightens. Lone Star's emergency response team set up a secure phone line here, right here to coordinate their efforts. I can authorize you to use it. Thanks, Dresden. Don't mention it. Take care, Alice. Oh, that's the ending. Okay, well, we're not going to do that yet. Let's go talk to Jake. Jake shakes his head, comma, smirking as you approach. When he finally gets close, he breaks out laughing. I heard the Universal Brotherhood was getting shot up on the police scanner. Knew it had to be you. Did you get her? Oh, I got her. Figured you would. He scratches his mop of red hair. I guess that concludes the story of Alice Omarda and the Dead Man's Switch, huh? You know, I've been thinking, maybe you should stay in Seattle a while. There's plenty of ways folks like us can get into trouble here. You only skim the surface. I heard Mitsushima's looking for a team, and they specifically want a woman. No idea what that's about. And I just got word that something's going on at Crater Lake. The Tiers got it on total lockdown. No fly zone, the whole thing. There could be something in it for us if we poke around. And there's always the Orc Underground. Haven't seen that yet, have you? I got plenty of friends there that are good for a job. Something's bound to come up. What do you say? I'll think about it, Jake. You do that. If you want to find me, I'll be at McCracken's later. Got a taste for some seafood. Take it easy, chummer. All right, McCluskey, you piece of shit. McCluskey's alternating between trying to look important and trying to avoid actual work. What are you looking at, Chube? Well, these are interesting. I mean, 3 kinds of violence. And also my option, which is charisma. Hey, McCluskey, I just spoke to Mr. Telestrian. He said you got your lieutenant's badge. McCluskey beams, then his brow furrows. I did? I didn't hear about it. Yep, he said to go down to the station house right away. They're throwing a surprise party for you. Oh, Drek, I shouldn't have said anything. He smirks. Heh, I'll surprise them then. Idiot. The painted elf is watching the scene unfolding around the Universal Brotherhood with a grimace. Well, kid, it's been fun, but I've seen everything I care to see today. I'm going to get out of here. Is there a problem? He gestures at the crowd as he speaks. Look around. Note the members of the press being shuffled away by Universal Brotherhood spokespeople to get a private briefing. The Brotherhood is connected. A damage control team is probably on the way right now. Does the press really matter? Because important people know about it? Like a great dragon or a billionaire industrialist elf? Let me show you something. That's a weirdly phrased response. He nods his head towards James Telestrian. Note the expression on the UCAS FBI agent speaking to Telestrian. Dismissive, isn't it? That's because there's no love lost between the UCAS and Tyr Ternigir. Fuck that thing. They're not going to trust what he's telling them. And frankly, I have no idea what he's telling them. James plays his own game, always has. Do you trust him? No, just like I don't trust you. Don't take it personally, kid. You shouldn't trust me either. I've been manipulating runners like you for years. I'm manipulating you right now. You just don't know my game yet. Let's continue the dance. I have one more to show you. He points at someone in the crowd and smiles. The man sees him pointing and smiles back. That guy there? He's with Ares Macro Technology. Enormous megacorp, ridiculously powerful. They've been sniffing around Project Aegis for quite a while now. Clearly, they have an agenda that's just starting to unfold. He gives the Ares man the finger. The man smiles and returns the gesture. Government, media, business, all working to ensure the truth stays hidden. So it's a massive conspiracy. Yeah, of course it is. Welcome to society. I wish it was. In a way, it's worse. It's a series of conspiracies, conflicting agendas, and petty jealousies, all building upon, feeding upon, and excreting into an unending web of dreck that people wade through every day and call it life. If there was one Dark Lord controlling everything, and we could drive a magic sword through his heart to free the world, that would be grand. Such clarity, such focus. Alas. So what's the lesson in all this? That I did it all for nothing? He laughs. Just the opposite, schmuck. The lesson is this. The game is rigged. The cards are stacked. The dice are loaded. It's the same as it always was, every cycle. People in power exert power. Little people cower in their homes, think what they're told to think, and buy whatever product will help them forget how horrible their lives are for another day. And that's why we don't play their fragging game. We don't swallow their Dreck sandwich and politely ask for another. It's why we run the shadows. That's where the real life is, kiddo. Reality is living in the places no one wants you to see. Where's Herr Brockhaus? I thought he'd be here too. He flew back to Berlin. All sorts of things brewing there. He was very impressed with you, though. You could probably turn into work someday. But I'd forget about him if I were you. Never make a deal with a dragon, kid. They're playing a different game entirely. Okay, seriously, who are you? A friend. Until I need you for something. Then I'm a bastard. See you around, Harlequin. All right, well, I think that's about all of it. Nobody over there. Let's make the call. The phone before you has a simple numerical keypad. You can use it to call Sam's law firm and cash in on the dead man switch. Call the law firm and finish the job. You tap in the phone number Sam's lawyer gave you days ago. The phone rings 7 times before someone finally answers. The image of the lawyer on the other end of the vid phone is noticeably different from the one you saw a few days ago. The noise in the background sounds like it's coming from a bar. Yeah? He squints into the phone, and recognition slowly appears on his face. Oh, hey, it's you. Alice, right? So you got Sam's killer, huh? Yeah, I got Sam's killer. That's great. Hang on, let me slot Sam's video for you. He fumbles for a moment and the camera jerks crazily. And it goes to static and is replaced by Sam. Good old Sam. Sam still looks like Drek. Same clothes, same background, probably shot at the same time as the first video. Hey buddy, looking good, looking good. He giggles. If you're calling this number, it means the job is done, right? He closes his eyes, shakes his head. Congratulations, amigo. I knew you'd do it. You're always the dependable one. More than me, anyway. Which is why I'm not going to get paid. He looks back at you, trying to speak soberly. I I just want to say thank you for whatever you did. It means a lot. Not even knowing what you did, it still means a lot. Because I know you did something. You know what I mean? I know you made it right, somehow. He pauses, tilts his head back. His breath hitches in his chest. You're the only one who ever whoever tried to help me, ever. Except my sister. She tried. More than once. She tried. I never let her through. Never let her in. I regret that. A lot. Did I ever tell you about her, buddy? We're twins. We're twins, I guess. You still a twin after one of you dies? I don't know. Doesn't matter, I guess. He sighs, heavy. God, listen. Do me a favor, will you? If you talk to her name is Jessica, tell her I'm sorry, okay? For everything. She'll know what for. She's Catholic, so she'll forgive me. I need her to forgive me. Just tell her I love her. He straightens himself, shakes it off. That grin is back. Anyway, you need to get paid, which would be great, except for one thing. I got nothing. Never did. You know how it is, right? Sorry, but hey, thanks again for giving a crap. Seriously, I appreciate it. Tell you what, if you feel sore about it, look into my family background a bit. There's got to be people with money in there somewhere. Maybe one of them can throw you a few bucks. Take care, amigo. See you in hell. He reaches forward and shuts off the camera. The vid screen goes to static and the call ends. There's a moment of silence and then you feel a tug on your jacket. It's Dresden. So, what did he say? Thank you. He just said thank you. The Emerald City Ripper killings are sensationalized for several weeks. Lurid reports focus on the killer masquerading as the administrator of Mercy Mental Hospital. Soon after, pop singer Maria Mercurial is cast as the lead in Dr. Ripper, a trivid thriller about a reporter who goes undercover as a mental patient to uncover a serial killer. Seattle Newsnet reports a shootout at a chapter house of the Universal Brotherhood. Witnesses claim that a gang of religious fanatics stormed the building for unknown reasons, but committed suicide before they could be captured. All mention of insect spirits, James Telestrian III, or Shadowrunners are kept out of the news. 1 year later, the city of Chicago declares a quarantine area between Lake Michigan and Des Plaines River. Officially, the Chicago Containment Zone is established to fight an outbreak of an infectious virus. But an infestation of insect spirits is suspected by those who know. A mature form of Project Aegis, called FABS-3, is eventually deployed to remove the bug threat from Chicago. The Watts family name has since been lost to the shadows. Well, that's a hell of a conclusion. I'm trying not to get tricked because I really like the discussion that we had with Harlequin, and I like the one that we had with Sam. I thought those were both really well done. But my points that I was making earlier in this video and throughout this whole series still stand. Structurally, there's some really serious issues, I think. I do enjoy a story that evolves, that doesn't, that starts off on a certain scale and may expand or diverge or branch out in a way that lets you see more. And for all intents and purposes, the game does a pretty good job of doing that in a way that feels natural. But as far as covering like the individual missions of the like overall arc of the larger story, that's the part where I start to draw some issues, because I feel a bit unsatisfied. Not because things went unresolved, but because the way the resolutions were delivered were not necessarily, they were muddy. And in some cases, they were not fleshed out nearly as much as I think they ought to have been. Obviously, there are quite a few, quite a few things, especially around the family dynamics, some of which I've already talked about quite a lot, that are like an interesting, explosion out of the original game's hook of your friend Sam. But I feel like I don't even want to say it's like too little too late. There is certainly an aspect of it that's like, why are we only learning the reality of the conflict like in the last quarter or less of the game? Why do we only find out about Telestrian and really truly understand the full scope of the threat and all that? Why is that right at the end? Why do we basically only have one we have a big exposition dump and then a final conflict and the game's over? Like, that's all a bit of a missed opportunity. God, I should just change the name of this channel to Missed Opportunity, since I say it all the time. There's an opportunity there to tell a deeper story, and I think they really wanted to. But for one reason or another, they didn't flesh it out. I even think that the game, like, I wouldn't want this game to be any longer than it is in my mind. It's also already a reasonably long game. I mean, allegedly, it's like a 6 to 8 hour game if you're, not playing it and recording it like me. But there's an interesting story to tell here. And for all the complaints that I've made about how the story evolves and scenes that seem to be lacking in depth, the most recent of which being that, final confrontation, which just seems, sort of half-baked right at the end, which is a goofy when, it's the primary villain. I've had a bunch of complaints like that, but none of I don't think in any of those cases, I think those things are unsalvageable or even unnecessary. I don't think there's much in here that could or should just be like stricken. I really think a lot of it is in need of expansion or wanting for expansion. And I guess to some extent, it's a question of the game that the designers wanted to make, Shadowrun is based on a tabletop RPG, so you'd think that this would be the kind of thing that players would be willing and interested to read, huge amounts of dialogue for. But maybe what they knew of the market, or the truth of the market, is that that's not the case, that, people get grumpy after too much dialogue. But there's a lot of opportunity here. I just sort of wanted a bit more. The other thing that's kind of fascinating is obviously Shadowrun is a very large scale setting, where, you play as individuals, but the context of the world is what really defines so much of the experience that one has in the setting, in the world, or what the character experiences, and what their motivations and beliefs and understandings of the world are. So the other part of what I was just talking about is just not feeling like they did enough to talk about some of the important but not directly related elements of the world, right? Like, I think sort of the closest they get to it is talking about the idea of there being a dragon, that there are dragons in the Shadowrun world, but they don't talk anything about it other than to basically say, oh, there's this enigmatic dragon. He's a very, powerful character in the world. So to have them not explore a whole bunch of those things and to flesh out the world in that way, it does sort of undercut some of the rest of the experience. At least for me, it probably doesn't for a lot of people. The places we're in are interesting and nice to look at, but it's kind of all they are. It's a lot of setting without a lot of content or context. So I sort of wanted more there. I think that covers most of my thoughts on the overarching game in general. Obviously, I don't need to reiterate my thoughts about some of the technical problems or gameplay choices, gameplay design elements, or just straight up bugs. That's all been covered so far. So, yeah. Overall, I had a good time with this. I really like a lot of what's here. And I think the next time I'm probably going to come back and play Dragonfall. Not in this context, though. I am going to install Dragonfall, the standalone, and play it there because now having played this, I understand some of the weirdly worded things that came out between when Dragonfall standalone first came out, where people are saying oh, it's been improved, but here's the changes, and people were doing a very bad job of articulating what the differences were at the time. They just sort of, a lot of the discussion basically came down to, oh, the standalone's just better, and I got it for free because I already owned the original one. You know what? It's been so long, I genuinely can't remember whether I kickstarted this game or not. If I did, it was, 10 years ago, and I can't remember. And I didn't even look for myself in the credits because I can't remember if I kickstarted or not. Anyway, so yeah, Dragonfall, apparently much improved. I understand what people were saying at the time now. Also, one of my viewers, thank you for watching as much as you have, to this person whose screen name I forget, also made some allusions to things that I had called out in this game as being problems that were then solved in the subsequent version. So I'm interested to see those changes. So I think I'll be back with that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it immediately. I've got over a month's worth of videos to post before I have to make that decision. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this game. Let me know your thoughts if you haven't already. Interested in everyone's experience of this game, as with many things. Diversity makes diversity of experience and diversity of knowledge makes all the difference in the world. So leave me your thoughts. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.